Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Crazy week, my friends. Warrior week has been rough getting things done, and wanted to get another one done. I didn't get a chance to do one yesterday, but let's see if we can do one today before I hit the road here. So, thank you guys for your comments. I have not had a chance to go through the shout-outs for last week or so. I will do that today. We'll try to do a couple this weekend, so I apologize for not getting those babies out to you guys, so thank you. I appreciate, once again, all the comments, likes, all these type of donations, things you guys are doing. It's wonderful. I'm glad we're getting the word out. I'm glad we're getting people to understand how important it is to be masculine. And I see this all the time. I see this with all diversities. I don't care what color, what people are. Females want a masculine male. I don't care what it is. I've seen this again and again today, and yesterday, over and over again. And so it's important to kind of know that. It's important for our society to have males who are strong, who are protective, who are also providing. So, and speaking of that, we're going to talk about an issue today, and I have to apologize to Martin Dahl still. I'm working on this solar cultivation. I don't know as much, honestly, about this, but I'm going to go do some research on this over the weekend and hopefully do one this weekend. But we're going to talk about the fall of the Roman Empire. Again, E-trillionaire had a good comment about this, and we're going to talk about that in terms of semen retention. So let's talk about this a little bit in the history, because we talked about once before that in the history of warriors, and this is good for know because we're in a present dynasty, you want to call it, right now. Every era in history has got certain types of dynasties or times that a certain area has ruled or been in charge. And so we go back to how those are formed. I don't care if you're talking about back in the biblical days with Babylon. I don't care if you're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't care if you're talking about the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. If you're talking about, the Incas, the Mayas, the Tudors, all these type of groups of people started from somewhere. Now, how does this affect semen retention? Well, the rise and the fall of these areas, of these dynasties, really depend upon how people use their energy. And I'm talking about males, because females, you can't start a family in a home without having a female of some sort to be able to nurture, have the children, those type of things. So women are very crucial for the continuation of the generations. But the males are important for putting those blocks together to start those towns, cities, countries, to be able to get that to flourish. And at the beginning of all this creation, I don't care what dynasty you're talking about, there was very little releasing done, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. If you look at all these type of people, they had no time. Even going back to the pilgrims, they had no time for releasing. Do you really think that warriors, these guys, were releasing all the time? They would have no energy to do anything. And unless they were doing it to procreate, which is what we see in the Bible and talking about this, that's how they form those different dynasties. And at the beginning of all those dynasties, all that was focused on was work. Get the work done. Yeah, I'm sure, obviously, they kind of grew in population and they had the procreation, but the males could not afford to just be releasing and be tired all day long. They couldn't afford to do that. They had to go and say, we got to get this done. They had to protect the families. They had to protect their wives. They had to protect their children, their community, because there was a lot of dangers going around there all the time. The pilgrims, all the way up to back to the Roman Empire, there was always that type of thing when people began. And you'll see the same type of thing happen when those areas are destroyed. But the thing is that what happens is that those males, especially, those are the ones that are protecting those areas. And so as those dynasties grew, they become really solid because they were able to have self-control. They had a certain thing they believed in, whether it was the Bible or some other type of thing, and they kept building those type of blocks so that the families, the towns, the cities grew. Now, what ends up happening is at a certain point in time, and we say roughly about 250 years, 300 years, something like that, which is kind of interesting because we're kind of in that period ourselves right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But in those periods of time, about 250, 300 years, you now have a situation where the generations have become so successful and profitable, and they're at the point where the generations, if not taught, and it's very difficult to teach those same lessons when you didn't have anything and you're striving and you're a survivor and you're trying to build things to the point where everything is built. You're just kind of looking at pleasure, entertainment, things like that. And it's very difficult then to keep that same level of hunger for those generations. And it's hard to teach that. And so what you see in these commonality and all these type of things is the fact that as time goes on, no society has been able to deal with their own success level. And that's the thing that's important, because as you focus on this, the key is going to be to looking at how we can continue to keep that hunger, that drive to continue to be better. We face that same thing today. But back in those days, what happens is that as you get to that point and the generations get spoiled, they are not really have that drive, dedication, now they go into pleasure. And that's when the evil one can take over. Most time people are not killing themselves with suicide because they're homeless or they're struggling. They learn to fight. The ones who really have trouble with it is the ones who've been given everything and now they can't deal with the situation that they're failing or they're not succeeding. And then they end up, unfortunately, committing suicide and killing themselves because they're at the point where they have no strength to deal with adversity. And this is where all these societies kind of fold apart. Whether you're talking about the Roman Empire, or the Incas, the Mayas, it didn't really matter. The same thing happened. At a certain period of time, that hunger, that drive, that was lost. And the warriors lost that drive. Now, fortunately, if you remember how to keep that drive that you had because you struggled, then you're able to continue moving forward and striving for another goal and another goal. But why have goals if you have everything? And that's the mentality of what led to a lot of the fall of the Roman Empire. At some point in time, they had things and now they felt like they didn't need anything. The other thing that played into this is they had no God. At some point, they forsake God. Same thing happened with Babylon. Same thing happened with Sodom and Gomorrah. And God destroyed those in an hour, not in a year, in an hour. They were destroyed because they forsake God. And what happens is if you don't appreciate and grateful for things that you have because you've had to strive for them, you were at rock bottom, you're fighting back, you're not giving up, you have a humbleness, and you appreciate those things. As a result of those things, now you become stronger and you can deal with any kind of situation you have. So, as we talk about this fall of the Roman Empire, we're looking at what happened then at a point in time and around Jesus and Julius Caesar and therefore Caligula and everybody else that come along, all the other types of leaders, most of them kind of gave into the pleasure. And as generations went on, they forgot how they got there. They forgot the hard work because the generations never taught the earlier generations. So, for example, a parent, well-meaning parent, and I include myself in this, helping their kids along, trying to give them everything so they didn't have to go through what we did. Well, that in some respects is a mistake, because in the long run, you want kids to go through mistakes. As long as you're there to guide them, they know that they can go through these and they can succeed. No matter what the tribulation is, they can succeed. This is the key. You want pleasures. One time, I worked with Norman Vincent Peale, who was a famous pastor in New York years ago. And one of the comments he always said was, "What's the matter, Lord? Don't you trust me? Give me more problems." Put yourself in the middle of problems and try to work yourself out. That's how you become strong, warriors. You're not afraid of those problems. You're not afraid of those risks. And that's the key to the whole thing. So when we look at the fall of the Roman Empire, when you look at those periods of time, Julius Caesar, and all those. All of a sudden now you had a lot of debauchery. You have people who are doing anything they want to do. And of course, they're releasing all over the place. And they're releasing for lots of different reasons because the pleasure was important. So they became weak. And when you become weak, all of a sudden now you're open to a lot of temptation. A lot more deviant behaviors came about. A lot more forgetting about God. And of course, that's when you had Attila the Hun, a lot of all these groups come in and actually little by little destroy the Roman Empire. And you see the same thing happen in England. You see the same things happening in our United States. You look at those type of things, you see a lot of debauchery going on. Now, they won't call it that because they don't think anything's wrong with it. It's the same thing that happened way back in Babylon. No difference. Human beings are human beings. Do you really think some of the stuff you're seeing now didn't happen back in Babylon? It may not have been networking or publicized, but it all happened. Human life stories, there's not many of them. But the thing is, you follow the readings of your religion, you follow what's going on. A lot of those stories are the same stories over and over again. Just different people. Different era, different technology, same people, same ideas. All right, so once again, the moral of the story is continue having hunger, continue to fight battles, continue to battle on, and continue to strive to make yourself the best you can be. Never settle for anything. Continue to battle on, and you won't fall into that trap the Roman Empire fell into of too many lascivious, deviant behaviors because they were content the way they were. All right, so thanks a lot, E-trillionaire, for a great comment. I love this topic, and maybe we'll talk about it again at another point. All right, guys, until next time, have a great day. Remember, 2 things. Every day is a new day to a great warrior. And remember to battle on!